The case, Masterpiece Cakeshop vs. Colorado Civil Rights Commission, marks the first time the Supreme Court will consider a person's religious objections to same-sex marriage since the court found in 2015 that a right to marriage extended to gay people. That decision struck down bans on gay marriage in 13 states. This case is not really about a cake, starts one amicus brief by a gay rights advocacy group siding with the same-sex couple. That might be the only thing on which both sides agree. Attorneys for the baker, Jack Phillips, as well as the U.S. government and conservative religious groups argue that Phillips's cake is much more than food, it's art and thus protected free speech the government may not infringe upon. A cake is not an ordinary baked good, its function is more communicative and artistic than utilitarian, the Justice Department writes in its brief in the case. The baker himself argues that his case is about the expressive freedom of all who create art or other speech for a living. Meanwhile, gay rights groups, the ACLU, and attorneys for the couple Phillips turned away, Charlie Craig and David Mullins, say the baker's refusal to make them a cake is tantamount to hanging a heterosexuals only sign outside his shop. The fact that you might have to take down a sign that says whites only doesn't mean it's a case about speech, argues Louise Melling, deputy legal director at the ACLU. Melling compared Phillips's objections to those made by business owners in the 1960s after civil rights laws were passed. They said their religious objections to serving black people superseded the government's interest in preventing discrimination. They were found wrong then and will be found wrong now, she argues. And some academics are skeptical of Phillips's claim that what he does is protected speech. I question whether baking a cake is really expressive activity, said Erwin Chemerinsky, dean of UC Berkeley's law school. I bake all the time, but I don't think I'm engaging in speech when I do it. If baking a cake is expressive activity, then so is virtually any work. Several legal experts have argued that if the Supreme Court finds that baking a cake is expression and is thus protected from Colorado's anti-discrimination statute, then nearly every person involved in the wedding industry or any industry could argue they have a right to refuse to serve gay people. Conservative religious groups are hoping for exactly that kind of broad ruling that would allow any wedding vendor to